Well, hello and welcome to episode 102 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here as always with Michaela. And Michaela, we're recording early because you are ready to set sail for the high seas.
Yes. Yes, I am. Definitely. The bags are packed. I'm ready to go. All my cares are floating away, and I'm leaving on a big cruise ship. I don't know when I'll be back again. I will. I do know. I'll be back in 5 days again. And I'm
Oh,
hopefully gonna.
was
I'm a little nervous because I've never done a cruise before. So
that nervous
anybody out
singing?
there,
Could have been nervous
it
singing.
was
I
a
don't
little
know.
bit. Yeah. I mean, it certainly wasn't. It wasn't operatic. So if anybody out there is thinking, wants to put out good vibes for me while I'm on this cruise, it's the middle of the ocean. Anything could happen. I don't know.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be a good time. You're going to eat all the food. You're going to drink all the drinks. You're going to play some bingo. You're going to play some shuffleboard. You're going to go sit on the beach. It'll be fun. I've been on a couple cruises myself, and a cruise seems just up your alley. So I think you're going to have a fun time. I think it'll be good. Do some relaxing. Take some time off. We've had a busy year, 100 episodes. You need a break, Michaela, is what we're
Woo,
saying.
I
That's
do.
what we're getting
Yeah.
at. Yeah. So but there's no time for breaks today because we have a really important episode coming out. Today we're going to be talking about the Marvel classic, the Best Picture nominee, Black Panther. It's coming at you. We've got the Wakanda Forever is coming out. As of recording, I think it's coming out today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
As you're listening to this, so definitely check that out. But we have to do a little bit of background, a little bit of soul searching, a little bit of deep dive onto Black Panther here to get us ready to go back to the land of Wakanda and see what they have cooking for us. So why don't we take a quick break? We will be back to whip up this week's cocktails so we can go revisit all the best parts of Marvel. We'll be right back.
So this week we're mixing up a riff on the margarita. I mean, what better way to celebrate a nation with a cocktail that's perfect for our trip to Wakanda? It's kind of a hidden gem, which is the entire country of Wakanda, right? It looks different than you may recognize from a margarita, but it's from the Black Panther Oscar run from Paste Magazine. And
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty simple to put together, and it's really exciting. Of course, it has Cointreau, as all amazing margaritas have. You're going to start with an ounce of that. You're going to add 2 ounces of mezcal, an ounce of fresh lime, a quarter ounce of fresh orange, which is a nice change, and then 3 blackberries. Now, we live in 2022, so maybe you can find some fresh blackberries out there. But if you can't, because it's winter in this hemisphere, you are welcome to go ahead and use some thawed frozen berries. That's totally fine. We're going to muddle those in, and that's going to give a really beautiful kind of dark pinkish purple hue to this drink. And it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you just put all that in there, muddle it up, shake it with some ice, strain it into your glass with ice, and then if you want, you can rim that glass with some salt, which is what I did, or the recipe actually calls for like a smoked sea salt, which I forgot about before I was making mine. So definitely want to try it again with the smoked sea salt. But mezcal already has kind of some smoky quality to it, so you're going to get a little bit of hints of that, and then you're going to drink it. It's a margarita with some blackberries in it. It's delicious. It's actually very close to my house margarita, Michaela, which we've talked about a couple of times here on the podcast. Our own kind of interpretations on that, because I always throw a little bit of orange into mine, and this was pretty good. It's a little tart from the blackberries. I don't know if it's just the particular blackberries that I had were a little more tart. I think I would have been a little happier maybe with a little bit more orange, and maybe that's because that's how I do my house ones. But this was pretty good, and it's real pretty because it turns that dark purple, just the same kind of shade of purple you get on T'Challa's Black Panther suits as he's putting it on. Those flowers that they're drinking, getting their Black Panther energy from. So it hits all those notes, and it's really good. It's a really nice, easy twist on a margarita. Something good to put together, and something definitely good to drink.
Yeah, I really like this. I do think the blackberries, like I said, it's kind of a hidden kick to it because it's this beautiful color. You think it's going to be fruitier than it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for all of our folks at home who maybe don't know, can you tell me what the difference is between mezcal and tequila? Because this actually does call for mezcal. And growing up, I always thought a margarita was a tequila-based drink.
Yeah, so mezcal and tequila are pretty much the same thing. They're made 100% agave, and basically the way you can lay it out pretty simply is that all tequilas are mezcals, but not all mezcals are tequila. So it kind of comes down to the region of Mexico where they're being made. Most of the best mezcals are going to come from like the Oaxaca region of Mexico. That's where you'll see most of them from the store. I used Casamigos in mine. Mezcal just a couple years ago was like mezcal blew up. All these bartenders started using it. It showed up in like these famous cocktails, and it was kind of hard to find. Maybe your liquor store would have like one mezcal, it'd be way expensive. But now they're pretty easy to find. They're still a little bit on the pricier side, but if you're a tequila fan, it's definitely worth picking up. But it's kind of akin to like having like a nice whiskey and a nice scotch. It's just something a little bit different. It has a little bit different kind of notes to it, but kind of that same kind of parallel, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, I love this drink. I think it is it's pretty boozy because I mean other than the lime and a little bit of orange and your blackberries, it's all alcohol. So just make sure you know that when you're going in. I would say I couldn't decide if I wanted more Cointreau or maybe more orange. I think you're right. Maybe the orange would have softened it a little bit because it was quite tart and I was worried that it was going to be too acidic for me. You can always cut that with some simple syrup if you want yours sweeter. We didn't call it doesn't call for that in this recipe, but the beauty of having simple syrup is you can make it really easily and you can store it for weeks without it going bad. So if you're ever in a situation where it's very tart, especially with making margaritas, you can always add just a tablespoon in there and that'll kind of change the profile a little bit.
Yeah, a little simple syrup, a little agave nectar. Those are definitely some good ways to go to sweeten up your margarita just a hair. And just like Wakanda, they're ready by the end of Black Panther to gift their knowledge and their wisdom and their technological advancements to the world. We're ready to gift this cocktail to the world because here's something good to know. If you want to swap out those blackberries for, I don't know, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, any kind of berry you want, do that. You can change this up real easy. So if you have a couple berries left over at the end of putting together your fruit salad or having your snacks for the week, go ahead and jazz it up and let us know what your favorite iteration of that is. But for now, Michaela, I think we better take our Wakanda Forever cocktails. We better get on some sort of Marvel specific airplane and see if we can fly and find our way to Wakanda because we have some deep digging to do. We need to get to the bottom of everything that's going on with all this vibranium. So why don't we take a quick break? We will down another one or two of these margaritas and we'll be back to chat about this week's film, Black Panther.
My name is King T'Challa, son of King T'Chaka. I am the sovereign ruler of the nation of Wakanda.
Spoiler warning for Black Panther. If you've not yet seen this, you need to go out and do it. You need to go see this film, and you can do it. It's easily findable on Disney Plus, and you should stop what you're doing. You should go watch it because Wakanda Forever is coming out. We're going to be talking about that in our Patreon, but right now we're talking about Black Panther, and it's the first film that's a superhero film to receive a Best Picture nomination. That's for a reason. So stop what you're doing, go watch it, drink a Wakanda Forever margarita, and come back, and we can chat about all the things.
That's right. Yeah, you should definitely go out and see it. Like Michaela said, it's easily accessible on Disney Plus, so go check it out. It came out in 2018. It was directed by Ryan Coogler, and it stars, of course, the late Chadwick Boseman as our newly crowned king, T'Challa, plus a bunch of other great actors. Michael B. Jordan as the challenger to our throne, Killmonger. Lupita Nyong'o as Nakia, who is the best spy around. Also, T'Challa's former fling, I do believe. It also stars, a couple other people: Daniel Kaluuya, Letitia Wright, Martin Freeman, Danai Gurira, Angela Bassett, Forrest Whitaker, Winston Duke, Andy Serkis. The list is long, and the acting quality is high. And yeah, you're getting a lot of carryover, obviously, from the Captain America film, the War of the Avengers, whatever that movie's called. I don't know. There's like 400
Civil
Avengers,
War
movies now. Civil War, that's what it was called. That's right. So you're getting a lot of carryover for this, and this obviously is Black Panther's, kind of. It's not really an origin story, as you see a lot of time in these kind of standalone, first pictures here. But we are learning a little bit about T'Challa and kind of the family background, the family dynamic, and what's going on in Wakanda. And like you said at the top of this thing, Michaela, this was nominated for Best Picture. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. It won 3 of those, one for Best Score, one for Best Costume Design, one for Best Production Design, but it lost Original Song, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, and unfortunately, Best Picture.
Yeah. I mean, it's we're gonna get into if we think that's justified or not. Definitely want to say it completely clears the board for me on set direction and set design. I mean, this was amazing. And when you think about what they're trying to do, they talk about how at the very beginning of the movie, they talk about how Wakanda came to be, how it was formed. There were these 5 African tribes, and then they were warring over this meteorite that had fallen and it created this metal called vibranium. Vibranium is really important in the Marvel universe because it's what Captain America's shield is made out of, and it's it's like super strong and really light and really amazing. Well, Wakanda is kind of the heart of where this is, and the Wakandans are using this vibranium to develop really advanced technology, but they're also isolating themselves. So from the outside world, this just looks like kind of this, I don't want to say run of the mill, but like a classic, what Westerners, I guess, would think of as a classic African nation where there's plains and there's animals and there's not a lot of infrastructure. There's certainly not a lot of braking technology, advanced technology, and it's all hidden away from everybody else. And so if you are a Wakandan, you're in the circle and you know the secrets. But if you're not, then it's just another country in Africa, and you don't give it really a second thought, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we find a little bit about the history of Wakanda, how it came to be, but that's not where our film is going to get started. Our film starts up in Oakland, California. We're checking in on a couple of people who are doing some, I don't know, kind of undercover work. We're not really sure what they're doing in Oakland, but a couple of guys there. And then, Wakanda needs to check in on these guys. So you got T'Chaka, who's, T'Challa's father. We kind of meet him in the Captain America Civil War film. He's there. He's checking in on these guys, and it turns out one of them has been smuggling out vibranium. We don't know what he's doing with it. Probably nothing good. And King T'Chaka says, "Not a good look, guy. Not a good look." And unfortunately, it turns to fisticuffs, and this gentleman loses his life at the hands of T'Chaka. Which leaves a little kid there. And we're going to check back in with this little kid later on in the film. But for right now, that's kind of where we're left. And then fast forward X number of years, we see T'Challa. We see Chadwick Boseman there. He is there in Wakanda. T'Challa is getting ready to take over the crown. All of these tribes of Wakanda are coming together to basically Game of Thrones style, sort of bend the knee, say, yep, we agree that this is the new king. Let's follow him. We will, do all of the Wakanda things we need to do to support our new king, T'Challa. But there is one tribe says, maybe not. Maybe we could be king. I don't know.
Yeah. This guy, I love this tribe because they're the mountain tribe, and so they've got these really guttural kind of cadences in the calls that they give out. And this guy's named M'Baku, and he's like this kind of a burly guy against Chadwick Boseman, who looks very strong but is just kind of thinner and more lean, right? And he's like, I claim this throne, or I'm gonna fight you for it. And it's really beautiful, this tradition here and the colors in the different tribes represent, and the fact that they all kind of pay homage to what Westerners at least think of as tribal kind of signets. So we've got folks who have kind of that lip ring. There are folks that have the different beading in their clothes and different styles of dress. And I think this was really beautifully done because it pays homage in a really honorable way to these different kind of facets of African nations in one place. And then the fight scene is actually really cool because it's on the side of this really amazing waterfall that doesn't actually exist every time. Because they have all this technology, they like drain a part of the ocean or a part of the lake so that it just creates enough of the waterfall for it to be dangerous while other people can kind of stand on these cliffs and watch. It's so cool. And I have no idea how they did this, if they used CGI as well as live action. But that was one of the most amazing things that I remember watching when I saw this the first time, was that scene where they're kind of laying out who's going to be where. And then you have the representation from all 5 tribes. And then of course, M'Baku comes in and he's like, I'm gonna fight with you to the death or until somebody yields. And of course that happens. And it's really amazing because of course, T'Challa doesn't want to kill him because he's an honorable guy. Right. And so they get to the end and of this fight, and he says, your people actually really need you. I do not want to throw you off the edge of this cliff. Can you please just yield?
can you please yield, M'Baku? Yeah, who is played by Winston Duke. And yeah, Winston Duke looks like the kind of guy you would not want to fight on the side of a waterfall, but T'Challa gets the one up on him. It's important to know that T'Challa is Black Panther, but before you have this fight, you have to drink this stuff. It takes away all of your powers, so you're just fighting a mano a mano right there. It gets him to yield. M'Baku pledges allegiance then to King T'Challa. Everything is good for right now. But outside of Wakanda, maybe everything is not so good. We are in London. We are there. We see Michael B. Jordan, who's playing the character Killmonger, Eric Killmonger. He's there. He's looking, at the exhibition of some different African artifacts. He's there talking to the lady and asking her, about what these things are. And he says, no, this is, you're incorrect. You found it. I don't remember the name of the country you said that they found it in, but it's actually from Wakanda because this thing is made of vibranium. There is a heist and they steal it. And he does that with the help of his, partner in crime, Clow, played by Andy Serkis, who's coming in, who's kind of more of like an arms dealer. We don't really know what the whole situation is with them, but they seem to be in cahoots as they're stealing this artifact and getting ready to, I don't know. I think Clow wants to sell it on the black markets, but Killmonger has more, not nefarious plans for it, but he has more kind of personal plans for this artifact.
Yeah, I think we see Clow in one of the Avengers movies before, and he loses an arm. And so one of the things that I also really love is how they continue that story with Andy Serkis, who is just an amazing actor. He, I've loved him ever since he was Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. He's done a ton of other stuff. Just really, his facial expressions and the way he carries himself is just amazing. But he was one of the folks at the beginning of the film that was working with whoever that spy was, who ended up being killed by T'Chaka. T'Chaka's, I guess that person was working with this Clow guy to try and get all the vibranium. So he's definitely trying to get more. And this guy, Killmonger, he's very angry. He's got this really
he definitely has like a chip on his shoulder about this for sure.
But it's and it's definitely more like I love Michael B. Jordan because you know immediately that it's more than just it's more than just getting vibranium for him, but you don't really understand why and where he's going with this. And so there's this kind of big moment where they are taking it out, and he's talking about how it, if he could get scarred and he can get hurt, and he has this weird kind of thing on his wrist, and you learn more about it later, but he's like, I've been hurt before, it's no big deal. He's a Killmonger. How did he even get that name? I don't remember that being his name.
I don't know for sure, but yeah, Eric Killmonger, he is like a former CIA agent, I believe. Had worked with the CIA, and that's kind of where the vibranium is going, right? It's going to like some black market sort of dealing in Busan. We're going to catch up with our CIA agent, Everett Ross, who's played by Martin Freeman, who's we would have known him from Civil War. One of my problems with the Marvel universe is you have to watch 100 films to get the full context of your one film, but I digress. So we're going to meet Everett Ross. He's in Busan. He is kind of I don't know, like incognito. He's supposed to be buying this vibranium, the end of this like kind of hammer sort of thing that they stole from the London Museum. So he's there, but T'Challa catches wind of this. So the contingency from Wakanda is on their way. They're going to go and try to intercept this, figure out what's going on, and all heck breaks loose as what happens when you have arms dealers and you have scorned ex-CIA agents and current CIA agents and Black Panther and your King's Guards, and everyone's there, and it is all going bad. And what happens? A big, impressive car chase ensues with an invisible car, which is a Lexus, which they make sure that you know, and they're running through the streets. Moral of the story is they don't get the hammer back, right?
They don't get the hammer back. But we do see more about the relationship between T'Challa and his sister, Shuri. Shuri's really brilliant. She's only 16, but she has a handle on all of the technology. So I love this scene because it has a really interesting concept of you being able to drive a car or fly a plane or ride a bike without actually being in the space, because there's this magnetic piece of technology that you can slap on the side of whatever it is that you're trying to drive or ride or fly, and it recreates it in this kind of laboratory in Wakanda. So you can sit in this Lexus, as you say, and drive around without actually getting hurt yourself. And Shuri's just amazing. The chemistry between T'Challa and Shuri is great. They really kind of riff off each other as brothers and sisters should. She's one of my favorite characters because she's also so smart, and she likes tradition, but she also doesn't mind kind of pressing the buttons and pushing forward with, hey, why are we doing some of the things that we're doing? Does it really make sense? We could be doing more. Why do we keep as a country not helping other countries in need? And we had that tradition, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you do get a lot of kind of really good interplay, and her character is amazing, right? Because it shows off, exactly how smart she is, and shows off all the technological kind of wonders and things that Wakanda have been able to achieve, on their own. And, obviously with this, kind of precious metal of vibranium that the world largely doesn't know, that they possess. And that's kind of one of the themes of this, is how, private and how, out of international conflict does Wakanda want to stay? And that's kind of, one of the things they come to heads over throughout the course of the film, is T'Challa is trying to wade those waters. But unfortunately, things are coming front and center, right? They have this big car chase. And bad news, if you're Everett Ross, CIA agent, is you get shot. It's not looking good, or he gets paralyzed. Something falls on. I don't remember what happens, but basically he's going to be paralyzed. So, T'Challa makes a decision. He says, I'm going to have to let them go. They can have the vibranium because we got to get Everett Ross back to Wakanda to save his life. That's the noble thing to do. That's what we should do.
That's right.
Yeah. He gets some pushback and say, you can't bring a foreigner into Wakanda. That's bad news. But he says, nope, got to do it. Got to take him to my sister. She's going to fix him up. And that is exactly what happens. So now kind of the world is getting a peek into what Wakanda has to offer, but someone else is interested in what Wakanda has to offer, because remember that kid whose dad got killed by King T'Chaka? That's Eric Killmonger, and he wants back. He wants to get his revenge. He wants to take over the throne, and that is where he is going next.
The scene where they're actually flying through these African plains and kind of the grasslands, and he says this, I'm going to take you home, and this never gets old. It never gets old for the viewer either, because it's so beautifully done. The way they kind of CGI the perimeter and how it kind of melts away, and you see what looked like an empty grassland is now like a vibrant city with skyscrapers and all sorts of stuff. It's so cool. And the fact that Shuri is like, finally someone can come visit, like she is so excited to help Everett get better and then get him on his way. And of course he is checking out for a little while, and he's this at the same time, Eric Killmonger kind of shows up at the edge of this perimeter, and he makes a case because he has killed Clow. He realized that, Clow has been an enemy to Wakanda, and kind of the enemy of my enemy is a way for me to get back in. So he kills him, takes his body to the edge, and he's like edge of Wakanda, and he says, "Hey, I need to be brought before the elders. I want my day to say my piece." And when he does that, he then reveals his identity to be that young boy whose father was the one who was killed. Now, it's really important at this point that we find out as the audience that the man who was killed was also T'Chaka's brother. So it was the current Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman's uncle, who died. And it was kind of this family secret that no one really talked about. They didn't talk about who he was or what happened. They didn't talk about the fact that he had a kid. They just kind of left him in Oakland in, the early 90s. And that's not cool.
That is not very cool.
They could have made a ton of different choices. Yeah. And there's this really, there's a really tough scene where Chadwick Boseman just beautifully plays this kid who's angry at his father, doesn't understand his father's choice. Is like, you could have why did you do that to that boy? We could have brought him, and you could have explained to him that, his father had to pay for his crimes, but, it ended up, making Eric Killmonger this person that he is now, and who's been trying to get back into Wakanda just to do what he's doing now, which is challenging the throne. He's like, I am a rightful heir. I have the ability to challenge you. And I wasn't here to do it when you had the big ceremony at the beginning of the movie, but I'm here now. And that's what he takes off his shirt. He's got all of these like scarification scars, one for every person he's killed. He's killed a lot of people. He's very
That's how you get the name Killmonger. That's where you get the name Killmonger. Yeah.
That's right. And it's very terrifying because again, they have to go kind of man to man and drink the potion to get rid of all the heart-shaped herb that gives the Black Panther extra special powers, I guess.
Yeah, all the Black Panther powers go away. So T'Challa has fought M'Baku, won, but this time he has to fight Eric Killmonger. It doesn't go as well. It's really very kind of emotional. Forrest Whitaker, his character is named Zuri. He ends up dying in the fight as well. And you think that T'Challa meets his end as he gets thrown over the waterfall. But we're going to find out here very shortly that, luckily for him, he's got some friends now. What happens when you spare M'Baku's life in the fight is that they're going to get your body. They're going to pull you up out of the drink and take care of you. They're going to put you in a big pile of snow, which is going to keep you going for the time being until your family can get there. You touched on it just kind of briefly, is kind of these, they're not really like flashbacks. They're kind of, I don't know. They're almost like fever dream kind of thing. So when you're getting your Black Panther's power, they're giving you, you're taking like this drink from this little like purple, like heart-shaped flower kind of a thing. It's giving you that, and then they bury you in the ground, or in Shala's case here, they're going to be burying him in the snow. But when you do that, you're kind of going into like this never realm kind of thing. So we see T'Challa there. He's talking with his father, like you mentioned, asking him, why you did that, why did you keep this secret, why that was a series of bad decisions, Dad. What's up with that? But we also get a really neat one with Killmonger when he goes and he's seeing his father and himself as a young child, and he's kind of witnessing that kind of conversation, and that's kind of what propels him there to take over with a bit of fury. And when he comes to, he says, burn all these flowers. We're done with this. Done with the way you've been doing things, because I saw the way you've been doing things. And it's not bad. And you kind of feel bad for Killmonger, right? I mean, he's coming from a place where that's totally understandable. Your dad gets killed, you're a little kid, and you get abandoned in Oakland. You're gonna have some trauma you have to deal with that. But of course, he is our villain here, so we have to see about getting the one up on him, and that's what's going to happen, because T'Challa's family are going to go. They smuggle out one of those purple flowers. They make it to M'Baku, and they say, "Yep, we're here to help. Give him that flower. We'll bury him in the snow, and we'll try to win this thing back."
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, there's an interesting relationship that I want to talk about a little bit. There's Okoye, who's Denai Guerrera. she's amazing. She plays Michonne on The Walking Dead, and I didn't realize that until watching this just this time. Absolutely amazing. And she is the biggest badass I've ever seen. She's so great, and she's like this incredibly proud Wakandan, like border tribe general. She's amazing. I can't say enough how cool she is. But she's married to the Wakabi, played by Daniel Kaluuya, and he is kind of on the other side of the spectrum of like what is right and what is wrong when this thing all comes to a head. So he's very confident, and he's one of T'Challa's best friend, but he believes that, you know, we should not, the family made a huge mistake in not, you know, mentioning or bringing Eric Killmonger to Wakanda and raising him as a child of the royal family. He sort of becomes this, not traitor, but he definitely has his own, like, he has his own following of army followers, and so he's kind of raised this army and in support of Eric Killmonger. And then his wife Okoye, she's got all of her like her special forces, who are all like really amazing strong women with like spears that are ready to kill you. Then they kind of have this big battle on the plains in front of kind of this castle thing where Martin Freeman's character, Everett K. Ross, he is up in a laboratory with Shuri. Shuri's trying to take down some planes, and you know, luckily Everett K. Ross, he used to be a pilot, and so she's like, look, we're going to use this technology that we foreshadowed at the beginning with the car, and you're going to get on this plane, we're going to be able to go and take these things down, but I need your help. And by the way, there are people flying around trying to shoot through the castle walls, and so you don't have a lot of time. It's very exciting, and you've got, you know, this band of women with spears that are going after these giant rhinos who are wearing lots of shields and
some armor.
I've never seen
armor.
A rhino wearing armor. It's so cool.
It is
again the set direction and the costuming decisions are just epic. They're so good.
That's right. Yeah, we do get to see that. That is very cool, right? Everett Ross is flying this imaginary invisible plane that's just kind of like existing in this ether. Now, Shuri, pretty much a genius, right? She figured out how to do this. You can drive a Lexus from this room here. You can fly this airplane from a room here. She didn't think about putting like a cushion underneath them, because when you wreck and your plane dies, you just fall on your butt. So Shuri, come on, get a cushion in there if people are going to be piloting these things from remotely. But yeah, you get this big epic kind of battle where all of the, you know, kind of all of the tribes of Wakanda are coming together, and like you said, it's not necessarily that. I don't know that Killmonger was such a bad guy, but there's just different factions. You know, people are, you know, loyal to T'Challa. People are loyal to Killmonger. They're loyal to whoever's sitting on the throne, whoever that may be. And it's kind of just interesting. And you get this big fight, and then ultimately you get the big fight between T'Challa and Killmonger. There you get the two Black Panthers going together. You know, kind of at the end in this, I don't know, kind of train station kind of a thing. And you know, fortunately, I guess for us, for the Avengers, for the rest of the world, T'Challa gets the one up and is able to get the best of Eric Killmonger. In the end, ultimately, then you get a really kind of touching scene, right? Where they're talking. T'Challa is going to spare his life, and you know, Killmonger is like, no, you know, Wakanda has done me no favors for my whole life. Don't try to do me any favors now. I'd rather just die honorably in this way instead of being your prisoner, and having to, you know, to appease Wakanda. And I mean, you know, he was probably a bad guy, but I mean, you do feel for him in the end. He got the short end of the stick, so to speak, on all of this. But it's a really neat scene between Chadwick and Michael B. Jordan. I think they're kind of at the culmination of this film, and you know, rightful heir T'Challa ends up sitting on the throne of Wakanda, which is good for the people of Wakanda, I think, and good for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting watching this from a Western perspective and from like my seat of white privilege, right? There's a lot of layers to this, and we could get into that. But I think the most impactful scene. This is definitely the most impactful scene to me because, you know, Eric Killmonger, you're right. He's not even angry anymore. He's like, I'm not going to live this way. I don't want to be your prisoner. And it's an apology that is way too late. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Where he is like, you've done me wrong. And it wasn't T'Challa that did him wrong, but the choices that were made, and he lives in this world that made it very easy for that person to just be written off as not even existing. That's very hard. And I feel like T'Challa really carries that weight. And that's why he takes him out and lets him see the sun set one last time. And it is really beautiful. And they kind of come to this understanding because, T'Challa really was a believer in keeping the tradition of not doing outreach, not showing any of the world their secrets, really holding all of those traditions very close to the chest. But he realized through this interaction that there are some traditions and some feelings and some thoughts that are meant to change, that have to change if you're going to grow as a person and a nation. And I think we could all learn a little bit from that. And so what he does is at the end, we see him and his sister, Shuri, go back to Oakland, back to the very place where Killmonger's father was killed. And they say, we bought, they have billions of dollars. So they bought a ton of the space, and they said, they're going to create this Wakanda's first outreach center right in kind of this project area of Oakland, and start to give back, because they should have done that in the first place. They should have behaved differently. And, T'Challa can't change the past, but he can certainly be part of the future. And I think, like I said, again, I mean, there's a lot of layers to this that we could get into, and we're probably not the right people to get into it. But what I will say is, I think that we can't change our past, but we have an opportunity to always change what we do right now, and to be impactful to the future for people all over the world. And I think that's one of the reasons why this film was the first superhero film to be up for Best Picture. Because that message is so powerful and clear, and it's so cleverly done, where it's not hit over the head. You don't feel preached to. You don't feel uncomfortable. You don't think that this is like a racial epitaph by any stretch. You're in this story, and then it kind of dawns on you as you think about it, and it's really just super amazing. And
yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, T'Challa is the right person to lead Wakanda here into the future, for all the reasons that you just said. And then obviously our mid-credit kind of scene here, and that's exactly what he's doing, is he's presenting to the United Nations that, Wakanda is not going to stay in the shadows and, kind of hoard all these resources. Now they're going to go out and open their, themselves up to the world, and hope to really, drive change and, be arbiters of change and improvements for everyone, which is awesome, which is definitely some more lessons. So keep taking lessons, world. You can do a lot. And of course, there's a post-credit scene. They're taking care of the Winter Soldier, which has nothing to do with this movie. So that's what it is. So watch that if you want to tie it into the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So let's stick with this movie here, Michaela. This movie is very good, obviously, nominated for the Best Picture. It did very well. It made like $1.3 billion, which is a billion with a B, which is a pretty good return. Ryan Coogler knocked it out of the park. Of course, Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, incredible. The rest of the acting cast, and this is incredible. But what were your takeaways? Like me, I don't want to speak for you, but I never heard of Black Panther. I had no idea what Black Panther was. I'm not super familiar comic book guy, just, outside of like the big hitters anyway. But, this was new onto my radar, and it came out, and then it just blew up the world in a very positive and good way for sure. But what about you, I guess, Michaela, when this came out in 98 or sorry, 98, 2008?
No, I'd never heard of Black Panther either. And so I was excited because we'd done a lot. There were a lot of middle-aged white guys being superheroes. So I thought it was neat that we had something other than that. I will say, and that it wasn't something that was made in 2008. It was a long-standing comic. I really was excited when it came out. And at first I was like, this is either going to be amazing or it's going to really fall flat. I didn't think that it was going to be received kind of middle of the road, like some of the other things that were coming out at that time. Like I was the first Doctor Strange coming out around this time, I feel like.
Yeah, I think they both came out that same year, possibly.
Yeah, and I think this totally blew anything else away. I mean, by far, it hits all the buttons if you are a comic book fan. I know a couple of people that I've talked to who are much more into the actual comic book life of Marvel than I am. They were really excited. They loved how this did, go along with a storyline. There were a couple of artistic changes that they made, just to make sure that they were able to do it and do it respectfully. Because we've grown, thankfully, a little bit, at least as a society. So that was really cool. But this just knocked me off my socks, and I was so glad to see that they decided they were going to make another one, and they were really going to add Black Panther to all of kind of the forthcoming Avenger films.
Right.
Even in a small part. I mean, Black Panther's in Infinity Wars, Black Panther's in Endgame, Black Panther's in a bunch of other stuff, and now with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, it's really kind of, we're still up in the air about how they're gonna solve the King of Wakanda problem, or the leader of Wakanda problem. But it's definitely made a huge impact on me. This film is so much more than just like a superhero action film.
Yeah, absolutely. This film is very important on a lot of levels, in ways that you and I will never understand. So I don't even want to try to get into that. But
yeah, for sure.
Just speaking on the movie, for itself, you mentioned, as the first kind of superhero picture to be nominated for Best Picture, and in a lot of ways, I think Marvel kind of helps kind of do this in a way, because you don't get kind of the same scope. You probably don't get that full huge cast coming together to put something together like this, like I said, in this kind of a scope. So I guess that's kind of one side of the edge here, but the other side of the edge is that then I think it gets a little bit hamstrung by some of the Marvel stuff. I think if you stripped a little bit of that away, it would have been a little bit tighter, and probably would have had a more realistic push at winning Best Picture, because this thing is awfully close to being perfect. And I think that, if it's, it had a couple extra too many boxes that needed to tick off for a film, right? That just kind of, like I said, I think maybe kind of hamstrung it just a little bit, but it's such an incredible picture and, achievement and, all of that stuff, to be able to put a story like this together with all of the layers and make it interesting. And that way, in the scope of the Marvel films, it stands alone as something that's, really able to prop itself up, on its own merit, as something that's, just beautiful and important in this way that, superhero films aren't. That's not their jam. Their jam is to make $1 billion. It's not to, be this nuanced and, personal. And so, kudos to you. And yeah, definitely Wakanda Forever. It's coming out. It's obviously, with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, we don't know how that is going to go, how that's going to play. We know it's going to have a long runtime. We know that for sure, because they're going to have a lot of ground to cover, I guess. And, it's going to be emotional, I think. And I think it's going to be beautiful. I have all the faith in the world with Ryan Coogler to weave another compelling story, and to do all the things to both pay homage to Chadwick, and to also, propel this story, and, this franchise and the people of Wakanda forward. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait, because I think it's going to be even more tearjerker-y, if that's a thing. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna cry probably. I cried watching it again, which is no surprise probably to anybody listening. But I think it's just I don't know. I'm really excited. It's a long film, this new one, but so was this one. So I just don't know. We'll just have to see. I'm excited. I know I'm excited, and I guess that's not super compelling as a critique, but you know what though?
That's right.
So I think
takeaways.
Michaela's excited, ladies and gentlemen. That's all she has to say. But the Industrial Light and Magic, they have I wonder what more kind of tech stuff we're going to see. I wonder what it's going to be like from a kind of audio visual standpoint, because it was so great the first time. So I don't know how they're going to top that, but I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely excited. And, as of recording this and everyone out there listening to this, Wakanda Forever is coming out the weekend that this episode is releasing. So hopefully you'll listen to this and then maybe go see Wakanda Forever and then get on social media and let us know what you think about it. And if you're following us, if you're a member on Patreon, you'll get our first exclusive episode where we're going to be talking about Wakanda Forever, doing a cocktail and, kind of giving our kind of quick reaction to that. We're planning to record that the day after we go out to see it. We've already got our tickets and our usual spots, so that should be good. So keep an eye out for that, and definitely let us know what you think about Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. Let us know if you make one of these margaritas to go alongside of it. Send us all of your thoughts and cocktail thoughts, all that stuff. You can do that on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram and Twitter, and facebook.com/drinkthemovies. If you want to see pictures of ours, episode recaps, information about the podcast, all that stuff, you can do that on our website, which is www.drinkthemovies.com. And if you want to chat with us, a little bit more personally, one-on-one, come join our Discord server. The link to that is in the show description and also in the link tree on all of our social media platforms. So come join there. We've already started sharing some cocktail recipes and stuff like that. So having a good time. So definitely come check out that community, and, check out the community on all the podcast players, because Michaela, 5-star reviews, that's what we need. That's what we need to get Drink the Movies out there. So where can they do that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Good Pods and Stitcher and all the places. Go find us and subscribe if you like what you're hearing on Drink the Movies. We do 2 drops a week. You've already talked about the Patreon. You've already talked about the Discord side. You can do all those things, but if you leave us a review, if you like what you're hearing, leave us a review. Tell a couple of your friends. It really helps us get the Drink the Movies out there. 102 episodes, and I'm so knocked out that we have more than like 3 people watching or listening to us. It's amazing. As we try and dissect films, it's really it's a dream come true. So please, do all the things. Like us, give us 5-star reviews, or give us an honest review. And if you want to talk to us about cocktails, if you have a movie that is your favorite movie that we've not covered yet, send us a note. We definitely want to hear all the things.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. So yeah, with that, Michaela, I think we've talked about Black Panther enough. We are geared up. We are ready to go see Wakanda Forever. We're going to do that. We're going to take a lot away from that. But next week, I think we're going to have to go. We're going to have to get back to our fall frenzy. And what says fall more than American football? So we're going to be back next week to talk about a classic, Rudy. You'll probably cry watching that one too, guarantee. But I do guarantee we will have a fancy cocktail for that. So make sure you catch us next time on Drink
the Movies.
Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever.